And I believe we're live.
All right. So, two times in this playoff so far, a team has been up 3-2, and then the team that was down came back and won the next two games. Happened with the Milwaukee Bucks. They were up 3-2. Boston came back and won, and then I can't remember the other team. It's not really worth remembering, but
I think it was like
I'm
some
sorry.
team in the desert.
It's we don't need to talk about it.
Yeah.
We
It
don't
was
need
the
to talk
Arizona
about it.
Cardinals or something.
It was the worst. Uh, it was the worst meltdown ever. Phoenix. I'm legit like it's like hurting me to talk about it. Like I'm not faking these wiping the tears. It brings up painful memories. Anyways, Phoenix blew it up 3-2 to the Mavericks. And now it's looking like the Celtics, who were down 3-2, were up 3-2, and now they might lose it. So, Blake, what are your thoughts on why teams keep coming back? Like, because usually 80% of the time, the team that's up 3-2 wins the series. And
Yeah.
we might see it for a third time Sunday night.
Honestly, I don't know what it is about these playoffs that make it where the teams keep coming back because like it's not like they've been the exact same because Milwaukee was the lower seed, weren't they?
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
the lower
Yeah.
seed.
Milwaukee was the lower seed and so they had to win, like they lost game 6, which means they had to play the game 7 in Boston,
Yeah,
which it was kind of different with the Mavericks because they won their game in Dallas and then had to go win a game 7 in
in
Phoenix.
Phoenix.
And so I feel like well, I don't know if we're going to give our predictions yet for the game, but I
No, we
do.
saved that to the end of the video.
Okay.
Keep the
Um
fans watching.
but yeah, honestly could just be a fluke, kind of like last year. I think it was, or maybe it was in the bubble where all those 3-1 leads were being blown.
Yeah, that was just one team that was coming back from
Yeah.
3-1, the Denver Nuggets.
Yeah, but it still
Could be that.
happened. No, and or no, there was a lot of 0-2 deficit comebacks too.
Yeah. Well, and just a lot of teams like yeah, it was just unique. Like the Lakers lost every game one, but then
Yeah.
won every series.
Well, I think
So,
what part of it is it could be the 3 because it seems like almost every single game the the team that has the good shooting night from 3 wins. So if you have 2 great shooting nights in a row and the other team has 2 off shooting nights in a row, because a lot of teams just use the 3 now.
yeah. Well, what's really interesting is cuz with Bucks Celtics, right? The Bucks had the better player, but the Celtics had the better team and won.
Yeah.
Mavs Suns, the Mavs had the better player, the Suns had the better team, but the Mavs won.
Yeah.
And so it's like there's not really a pattern because and I don't even know that you could say, well, which with the Heat and the Celtics, well, who has the better player? I don't know. You could argue Jimmy Butler, but then half
Yeah.
the time he's
He's
not
not
shown up. But then that's the same problem with Jason
with
Tatum.
Jason Tatum. Yeah.
So, like both of these all stars are both kind of inconsistent, which is why
Yeah.
their teams have lost. But also, like, yeah, just whoever's defense is better, shutting down the other team
Yeah. Like
has
whoever
has
has the
won.
more off shooting night usually ends up losing. I mean, not to get too basic, because that's
Yeah,
kind of makes sense. Whoever misses more shots, but I mean, you live and die by the 3. Before, when people would not shoot as many threes, I feel like there wasn't so much swaying of a series.
yeah. Well, and this is what's been so weird is game one, the Celtics are blowing out the Heat. Then all of a sudden, the Heat flip a switch, Heat blow out the Celtics. Game
Yeah.
two, Celtics destroy the Heat. Game three, Jimmy Butler gets injured, and the Heat still manage to win without Jimmy.
Yeah.
And then game four, Celtics slaughter. Game five, Celtics slaughter. And then game six, the Heat come back and win. I mean, that was like the first close game
Yeah.
of the whole series, which has just been so weird.
Yeah. No, it's
um,
true. And I didn't know well, whatever. I don't know what I was gonna say.
Oh, well, I know what I'm going to say is who do you think the Warriors are rooting for? Because we know whoever wins this is going to face the Warriors in the finals.
Oh, that's tough. I think it's probably they're rooting for the Heat because they're more banged up.
That's who I was going to say too. And not just that they're more banged up. I feel like the Heat have one primary scorer in Jimmy Butler.
Yeah,
And if the Warriors can lock him down, which I think they can, they would likely put Draymond Green on him.
yeah.
Then the
Well,
Heat are
unless
going to struggle, whereas the Celtics just have more scoring options.
yeah, well, unless Tyler Hero gets back, because he's
I mean,
definitely the second scoring option. I mean, he averaged 20 points.
yeah, but in the playoffs, he has been
He's
terrible.
had some decent games,
Has he?
like two, I think. Can fact check that.
Give me a sec. I'm checking his. Where's Tyler here? Never mind. I'm not checking the stats. Well, it's too much effort now.
Yeah,
Um,
no, I'm pretty sure he's had like two games where he scored 20, but that's not the best. But he's definitely their second best offensive player, I would say.
well, in the regular season, he was, but for some reason in the playoffs, I feel like he just has not been that great.
Well, and Kyle Lowry came out of nowhere last game. He was
Yeah,
doing terrible, and then he had what, like
that's
20
true.
points?
Uh, Lowry finished with 18.
Oh yeah, 18
He
points.
did
But
shoot 5 for 14 though, so
well,
not
hey,
great.
at least he got his points though.
He did have 10 assists too, so I mean he wasn't completely worthless.
Yeah,
10 assists to 2 turnovers, which is a great ratio. If he's
but I
just smart
definitely
enough to
think
follow
the
it.
Warriors would rather play the Heat just because the, I honestly don't know how the Heat have taken this to a game seven.
Yeah.
Because
It's been a weird series.
yeah, like the Celtics seem like they're the overall better team. Like they have younger, more athletic players who are in their prime, and they have more of them. And so it's just kind of weird.
Well, I'll give you 2 words why the Heat have forced game 7. Jimmy Butler.
That's true. I guess he's had two
Butler did
40
it.
point games this series, hasn't he?
Yeah, and they've won both of those
Yeah.
games. So, and then the
I
other
guess,
game they won was miraculously without him.
well, because Bam went crazy and
Yeah,
had like 30 something.
yeah. So, time for the big reveal, Blake. Who do you think, and not for the who are you hoping is going to win? Because I think we might all hope for the Celtics because it would be a much funner finals.
I'm not
What?
hoping for the
Oh,
Celtics.
you're not hoping for the Celtics. Well, I know you picked the Heat, so you would be right, but
Yeah.
I can't pick the Celtics ever, or they will lose because I cursed them. So,
Yeah.
but Blake, who do you think is taking Game 7?
Honestly, I think it is going to be the Heat. I think Jimmy Butler, for some reason, he plays out of his mind when the pressure gets mounted. Like, I've never seen a player flip the script as much. He goes from just being like this average, not like a good player, not even an all-star, though, in my opinion. And then when it's like a super pressurized situation, he turns into LeBron.
Yeah,
Like, and so I think Jimmy Butler is going to play amazing. The Heat I think, are the more experienced team, even though the Celtics have been to like 3 or 4 conference finals, but they're just older. They have champions on their team, and I just think it's going to be a brutal game of defense, and it's going to be super close. And I think Jimmy Butler is the best clutch player in the series, so I think they'll win.
I'll give you that Jimmy Butler is definitely the best clutch player in the series so far. Granted, Tatum and Brown could prove themselves, but
Yeah.
for the evidence we have before us, Jimmy Butler is definitely the best, and Spoelstra is definitely a proven coach.
Yeah.
Not to take anything away from Udoka, I remembered his name because he's proven to be really good too, just doesn't have the experience. But Blake, I'm going to disagree with you, and not to create controversy. I'm going to actually disagree because I do think the Celtics are going to win game 7. And this is why. It's because every time Jimmy Butler has a phenomenal performance, the next game he is worn out. And
That's
I
true.
think he's going to be extremely worn out from this. And Tatum and Brown are going to capitalize. And they had good games last game, too. It wasn't like they were horrible.
No, they
And I
weren't.
think they're going to show up. I mean, if Tatum showed up and beat KD and Giannis, I'm going to give it to them. I'm giving it to
They're not Jimmy Butler though. Just
they're not
kidding.
Jimmy Butler. And Jimmy Butler's interesting because Jimmy Butler can be the greatest player of all time at his peak. And then in his lows, and I'm sorry, Jimmy, if we look at these playoffs, Jimmy Butler's been very inconsistent. And then if you
Yeah.
even want to go back to the 2020 finals, when he forced that game 6, right? When
Yeah.
they won game 5, he outplayed LeBron. Like, you can't say he didn't outplay LeBron, but then the next game he was so gassed
Yeah,
and
that's true.
they ended up losing. So
True.
that's my reason. And I'm sorry, Jimmy Butler. I love you. But and I hope I personally am hoping for the Heat, but I'm picking the Celtics. And watch, as I've picked the Celtics now, they will let me down because
Yep,
they
that's
always
what
do.
I'm betting on.
I'm sorry, Boston, I've cursed you.